XGW Universe fans, XGW fans all around the world. This is Cactus, and joined by me is the infamous Y2K.
What's up, guys? How you doing? Y2K here, joining Cactus today. How you doing?
We want to welcome you to the premiere Season 2 X Marks the Spot podcast. Me and Y2K are going to be covering the ups and downs of the last couple of months, actually a couple of weeks, starting with Center Stage, the roster draft, and the first show of Adrenaline and the first show of Warzone. So, Y2K, what's your thoughts on the pre-show of Center Stage?
I mean, the pre-show Center Stage was quite interesting. One of my favorite moments was actually the induction of two lovely new Hall of Famers in Melina and Beth Phoenix. This is the first time in XGW history we had divas in the XGW Hall of Fame, so I thought, in my personal opinion, that was interesting.
Yeah, definitely a good point. Also, a few of the things that happened on the pre-show. Bailey from Developmental showed up, and she got a nod from the COO in XGW, which is something you rarely see. We saw a great match between Natalya and Miley Cyrus. Talk a little more about that.
I mean, these two were going at it for quite some time. Ever since Natalya was caught sleeping with Zack Ryder behind Miley Cyrus's back. So, it finally came to a head. The final battle between these two ladies caught me off guard. Miley Cyrus once again proving her dominance in the Divas division, defeating Natalya in what was quite an interesting matchup.
Now, even bigger than that, even bigger than history making of two divas being inducted to the XGW Hall of Fame, the main event of the pre-show is the second annual Ton of Fun Memorial Overtime Battle Royal. Last year, Cesaro won. This year, even more surprising and mind-blowing, we witnessed the return of the one and only Macho King.
I mean, Macho King, man, when he came out, the XGW arena was filled with excitement. Ooh, yeah. I mean, it caught me off guard, personally. I didn't expect to see the Macho King back for quite some time.
Yeah, he made quite an impact last year, and the unfortunate thing is, he was on the second show at that particular time, Uprising, and Eric Bischoff did not renew his contract to come back, as well as Zack Ryder. Who else didn't come back?
Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle is the world champion for 6 straight months and didn't resign. Didn't resign Angle.
Yeah, which really kind of sucks, because to let all that talent go that we had, or I should say that the higher ups had to let go, and it's like, oh man, to get Macho Man back at such a huge pay-per-view, and for him to do what he did on his return is quite phenomenal.
I mean, on the grandest stage of them all, returned, won the Ton Memorial Battle Royal. Now he has himself an opportunity at the XGW World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, that right there. Legends are made, and immortals and all that, blah, 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 blah. But when it comes down to it, who is he's going to have to face? And that's just something we'll discuss later on in the show. But moving further on, Kofi Kingston defending his X Factor belt. Ever since he took it from Tyson Kidd, he's been on fire.
I mean, Kofi's been on a roll, and first defending against Damien Sandow in a great match between those competitors, then an impressive match against Jimmy Uso, and now his third championship defense against Adrian Neville.
Adrian Neville, yes, the man that XGW forgot. The man that all of us wonder is he's still fucking employed in XGW. I mean, which is true. I mean, we see Neville, once every 6 months? Is it about time for him to show up again?
I mean, you can never know. You never know when that man's gonna come. It caught me off guard. I didn't see him coming at all. I mean, I had high hopes. Maybe Neville could have been the one to take that X Factor championship away from Kofi, but was caught slipping on the banana peel again.
Yeah, and speaking of sleeping on the banana peel, Wade Barrett, after months of being silent and not being there, slips on the banana peel, walks in, answers Jack Swagger's reply for an open challenge, goes to center stage, serves up the bull hammer to let people know, hey, I'm back. I'm the guy you need to watch out for.
I mean, yeah, Barrett making quite a statement against Swagger, but let's move on. Kevin Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin. What do you got to say about that one, Cactus?
That's been going. You know, we've all sat back. We watched Austin. We watched Hart last year. Austin has been labeled as one of those guys who can't get his dick up anymore. Some people feel he's retired. He hasn't been able to just grasp that big when he comes dropping the ball. Hart being Hart has pointed that out over and all. He's even cost Austin a match, supposedly, from what they've been saying. We watched the video. Did you watch the video? Austin versus Macho Man last year, I believe it was for the IC belt or something like that, and Austin put his hands on Hart, and Hart don't play that shit, and Austin got his feelings hurt, so here we have a year later, and Austin's still butthurt and in his feelings. He's man of the world. He can't win the world heavyweight title. You know, he's had try after try. I believe he was in the chamber, world heavyweight chamber, and couldn't get the job done. A lot of guys down in that locker room back there in XGW, we've interviewed, we've seen, just can't get the job done. So I guess maybe this is Austin's validation saying, hey, maybe I got it. I still have it. I still can be world champion. So we'll see about that.
I mean, Austin's a great competitor in the square circle. He has the potential to want to get me world champion, but he just has to step up his game quite a bit before he can get that world title opportunity. I personally feel. But other than that, I could see maybe at some point this year Austin as a world champion in XGW.
Oh, I don't doubt that, but it all depends on Austin. Austin has to show the higher ups what he can do. You know, you can't sit there and cry and what, and then you don't produce anything. You know, you can go in the ring and call everybody out, but if you're not getting those dubs, if you're not having the audience behind you cheering your name, having hope, man, you might as well hang the boots up and retire.
Yeah, I mean those wins add up. Those wins stack and add up and add up and add up.
And speaking of which, something that's just as twisted, AJ Lee and Paige.
Oh my God, AJ Lee and Paige.
I mean, AJ Lee for the last couple of years has been twisted in a few diva scenarios, from Caitlyn and AJ. All year she dominated AJ last year, and Caitlyn got her at the last pay-per-view of 2014 Extreme Rules, which was a complete out-of-nowhere shot. And then for Caitlyn to be attacked by Paige, and Paige is pretty much run rampant through the XGW Divas Division ranks. And unfortunately, she's introduced a few divas to what we call now baseball bat city. She's made them permanent residents in that great city of getting beat with that bat. And AJ was one of them at center stage.
I mean, Paige, AJ, great match, back and forth between both divas, but at the end of the day, it was Paige delivering that final shot, that rampage out of nowhere after kicking out of a surprising shiny wizard and withstanding the Black Widow. Paige managing to pick up that victory and sealed it with a kiss after the match.
She may have sealed it with a kiss, but I tell you what, it wasn't good as that damn kiss between Gail, Kim, and Melina.
at the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. That was a good one.
Yeah,
I would have loved to see one more kiss.
yeah. But with that, back to AJ and Paige, the biggest shocker of that was Natalia was Plan C.
Option C. I mean, Natalia for months hasn't is a lost soul after she's gotten divorced from Tyson Kidd. What was there for Natalia to do? I mean, but what caught me off guard is that she's now aligned herself with Paige, the anti-diva army. I mean, what's going on? What will these ladies have in store for XGW?
I think that's the funny thing now. For a little while, people really didn't pay attention to the Divas, but it's coming to fruition now that the Divas have pulled their weight and are just as much of a threat and mainstay as the male superstars. Um, just watching some of these matches like beforehand, I think watching Beth and Melina get inducted maybe set a fire in some of these Divas' asses and say, hey, we can do what they do. Melina, Beth Phoenix, Gail Kim, look back at some of those old matches, even Layla, they set the standards for what Divas used to be. And it was just like, it's always been, Divas really haven't been paid attention to. And now, Beth passes the torch, Melina passes the torch to people like Paige and AJ. And those two alone can't really bring it back. I mean, it's going to take a whole collaborative effort and full of surprises. And hopefully next year, a few more divas leave developmental and come onto the main roster, and we'll see what happens in XGW.
I mean, anything's possible in XGW, as they say. Anything's possible.
Yeah. Matter of fact, that U.S. title match,
I mean,
that was out of nowhere. RVD defends and beats Rowan, and Daniel Bryan comes out of nowhere.
I mean, nobody expected Daniel Bryan to come back and win the United States Championship on the grandest stage of all. Made quite the statement for his first night back.
Yeah, you have to do that. And speaking of statements, we had that male representation match for the Divas. All the Divas were in Kevin Hart's office pleading their cases, and Nikki Bella's representative, when she picked Randy Orton, the COO of all people, which is like a shocker, when we would have thought she would have picked her husband Miz, and she wins the title. And we're thinking, here you have underdog Naomi, who was actually pretty pissed that she didn't get a chance to be chosen for that male representation match, and she comes out on the grandest stage of them all and takes out Nikki Bella.
I mean, she took out Nikki Bella in record time, too. I've never seen a Diva match end so quickly in my life here in XGW. But how Naomi just caught Nikki off guard, spit calf kick out of nowhere. I thought she would have immediately hit the rear view after, but no. Nikki stayed down after that calf kick. Shit.
That's one finisher I wouldn't mind getting hit with. Naomi did hit me with the rear view any fucking time. Yes, absolutely. And see, I think Center Stage 7 was a night of surprises. Everything came out of nowhere. The biggest surprise of the fact with the A-listers in the tag team title match, they literally did not know who they were going to face as far as opponents were concerned, and to have to face Wade Barrett and Corey Graves was a shocker.
I mean, yeah. Corey Graves, Wade Barrett. I mean, who would have thought that these two guys would be fighting the Miz and Mizdow for their tag team titles? Such an unlikely team, but were very successful. Mizdow being the first man to get eliminated, then Miz eliminating Wade Barrett, but Miz put on quite the performance that night. Despite the fact that he lost the tag team titles, he single-handedly took it to Graves, pushed Graves to his limit, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to keep the savior of misbehavior down. Graves locking in that lucky 13 and securing himself and Wade Barrett the tag team championships.
Yeah, I've been saying for a couple of months now, Graves is the guy to look out for. every once in a while you'll see a guy come along, whether it's in a faction, which more than likely that's how it kind of starts off. A group of guys get together, and one of them you just know is going to stand out. And not to say that the others in the group aren't as good, but they don't leave as many memorable moments or, oh my God, oh, I can't believe that happened type shock factor situations. We saw it in EAI when The Undertaker put together Orton, Batista, John Cena. And we saw, and Chris Jericho, and we saw how over time those men's career either expanded or deflated over different periods of time. You saw Randy Orton came out the best, and from there, Batista. It just kind of came over time. And then you see groups like Lethal Injection, Last Man Standing out that group with CM Punk. You go on to other groups like MLC. Kind of like the last one out that group standing was Cody Rhodes, or still is Cody Rhodes, even though Macho Man has made a return. And now you have the Syndicate. You had Corey Graves, Mark Henry, Tyson Kidd, and Big E. And Corey Graves has pretty much stole the show, and I guess you could say the other ones were riding his coattails. And at some point in time, with as much popularity that you have, or as Graves has, you kind of have to watch who you put yourself with, or who you align yourself with. Is this person strong enough to ride with you, or are they going to hold you back? And apparently the Syndicate kind of held him back, and now he's teamed up with Wade Barrett, and Wade Barrett really doesn't have the strongest record in terms of lasting long in XGW. I mean, he had an exceptional night at Center State 7, but that's just one night. The only time will tell if he's going to be help Graves elevate and pull his weight, or is Graves pretty much going to, have to leave him in the dust like he left his other faction in the dust.
Goodness. Now we move on to The Undertaker versus the Icon, Sting, the Vigilante.
Oh yeah, that's been brewing for a while now. The old classic Good versus Evil. That definitely, possibly alone, is the worth of price of admission. That match was. It definitely had you on the edge of the seat. And even though I do believe it was controversial, where Sting had hit a tombstone on The Undertaker, and the referee called it as a rope break when The Undertaker's foot was nowhere near the ropes. That right there was a game changer. The Sting started out strong. And I really don't know what happened, but in typical Dead Man fashion, stole the show.
Was quite the matchup. Was quite the matchup indeed. We move on next to Cody Rhodes versus Edge versus Seth Rollins.
That match right there is kind of hard to really peg, but I understand the concept of it though. Edge versus Cody. I get that, Edge is a cocky son of a bitch, and at one particular time, Cody Young brings them, you're backstage, you see the older guys, you want to get where they are. Some guys are good about it, some guys are complete assholes about it, and for Cody to wait this many years to get his revenge on Edge, some might say is far-fetched and psychotic. Others might look at it as, I don't get the point, but the added element of Seth Rollins, Seth has evolved since joining XGW. He wants to be over with the fans, which at times he is. He has potential to be great, to be a great champion. Some might argue, say he may be a born champion, but I think Seth has the potential to actually be a great champion. Depending on his mood, depending on what he's against. He's taken a lot of abuse and a lot of flack from Edge. Edge knows. Edge has been a world champion 3 times and pretty much dominated the founding member of Lethal Injection. And the only bad thing about Edge is, he always constantly, I'm retired, I'm not coming back, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out. But to see this mixture of combination between these three in this particular match was kind of mind blowing.
Shocking. Very, very shocking. We move on next to Bray Wyatt versus Joseph, Son of Man.
This one will actually kind of go in the same category as Undertaker Sting. I've made no secret that Roman Reigns or Joseph, the Son of Man, is one of my favorites. He's actually been in a big, huge struggle with finding himself and, going from success to failure in this whole religious thing, and it's actually been kind of a cool development. Him and I think it was Tyler, basically had the belts for the longest as far as tag, and then lost them. And you saw what happened with Dean Ambrose, and they failed and all that, and won Battle Bowl, Price for Glory, and all that.
I mean, yeah.
It was actually pretty cool to see that match.
It was.
Real up close in person.
Very interesting. Very interesting. We now move on.
It makes you wonder
God.
what Bray's going to do.
And Bray's that wild card, and you don't know what Bray Wyatt's going to do. You don't know what he's thinking. It's very unpredictable. Had you guessing. Playing with your mind, playing with your emotions. But now we'll move on to Randy Orton versus Tyson Kidd, Chief Operating Officer.
That did not happen, unfortunately, due to what happened with early in the night with Austin and Hart. Orton had left the building to attend to Kevin Hart. But one real thing that was interesting to me, which I would have loved to see that match. Tyson and Orton had a good back and forth going on, a good rapport. It was typical of kind of like the young buck taking on the old deer and all like that. The whole syndicate was taking over, and each of them were picking their prey. Say, hey, you old follies are up. Your time is up. It's time for new school. We're coming in by any means. And Tyson had targeted Orton, and that actually would have been a good match to see.
I would have loved to see that match.
Yeah. Vince McMahon came out and did the fair thing and said, hey, a month apiece. Tyson gets his month of title shots instead of 3. Tyson has to sit with Orton and see the inner workings of the business, because he seems to think, oh, corruption here, corruption there. It's like one song and dance that everybody fucking sings. That's really gotten old. It's not even in the same key anymore. Oh, corruption here, corruption there. But more interesting than that was the findings and the incidents with Sophia Cortez being kidnapped, which I'm trying to figure out how the hell did she get kidnapped. Shawn Michaels finally stuck it to her.
Oh my God!
And she was kidnapped by Tamina after the heinous attack to her face.
And after Tamina was taken to Baseball Bat City by Paige, this all happened a week or two before Center Stage. It was supposed to be Paige versus Tamina in a rematch from Prize for Glory. But because Paige was so angry about losing her championship, introduced Tamina. Tamina was the first victim of Baseball Bat City, and Paige beat the dog shit out of Tamina with that barbed wire baseball bat of Cactus Jack. That was Cactus Jack's baseball bat, and the fact that she just stole it, was messed up.
Yeah, and kind of pissed that man off, which I haven't seen that side of Mick in a long time for him to come out like that. For Jack to come out is only special occasions that Cactus actually shows up. So that was a different side to see. And speaking of different sides, we've seen a more aggressive side of CM Punk lately, and that came out between him and Triple H.
I mean, Punk versus Triple H, quite a match. Very interesting. Punk, once again, proving why he is the best in the world, defeating the game. Triple H in quite an impressive matchup.
Yeah, but the question is now, at the time the center stage went up into April, the clock is ticking. CM Punk's contract. We've seen Mr. McMahon hint and jab and rib at Orton about, hey, are you going to get Punk to resign? You know, time is of money, blah, 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 blah. Question of the matter is, when it comes to Extreme Showdown 2015, will Punk re-sign with XGW, or will this be the last time we see Punk as an active wrestler in XGW? What do you think he's going to do?
I mean, honestly, I hope CM Punk resigns, but at the same time, I honestly don't think he's going to resign. I don't think the company's exactly treating him right. He could be treated better. So in my personal opinion, I really don't think CM Punk will resign, but I would like to see him resign for another year. I would love to see CM Punk walk away with the XGW Championship one day.
Now, what if Punk doesn't resign? Where do you think that holds for Sons of Anarchy? What do you think that holds for Orton's future and The Rock's future?
I mean, it could affect the Sons of Anarchy in a lot. You're losing your brother, your key member of the Sons of Anarchy. I mean, to lose a guy like Punk, I mean, will it just be Rock and Orton running the Sons? Well, I mean, we hardly see Rock as it is. Rock could be out filming movies in Hollywood, so it'll basically just be Orton. Orton basically by himself running the Sons, really, because we hardly see Rock.
I'm thinking that would be an actual big, huge blow. Now, another big, huge blow I've noticed. Give us your take on the IC title match between Kevin Nash and Corey Graves.
I mean, this all started at Prize for Glory. Kevin Nash was one of the few competitors that was supposed to compete in the Prize for Glory match. But Nash was nowhere to be seen, so he was replaced with Cody Rhodes. But later on that night, Kevin Nash interfered in Corey Graves' Intercontinental Championship match. Graves retained the championship, but ultimately Kevin Nash made a statement by jackknifing, powerbombing Corey Graves after the match. I mean, I didn't see that coming. I mean, Nash...
Well,
go ahead.
Take it back to King of Hell in the chamber. Who did you have in there? You had Miz, you had Sandow, you had Big E, you had Corey Graves, you had The Miz, who was champion, and you had Kevin Nash.
You had all the...
I think they...
You had all
the... there.
Yeah, it all started there. You had the A-listers, you had the Syndicate, all in one match, and then you had Ryback. Nash was basically by himself. You knew from the get-go in that chamber that it was going to be double team city. And that's exactly what it was. Miz and Mizdow tried their best as a team, but ultimately Miz was eliminated first. So that left Mizdow by himself. Then you seen the Syndicate dominating the chamber, left and right, making eliminations, taking out Kevin Nash, taking out Mizdow, taking out Ryback. I mean, it ultimately came down to Mizdow by himself. Then you seen the Syndicate dominating the chamber, left and right, making eliminations, taking out Kevin Nash, taking out Mizdow, taking out Ryback. I mean, it ultimately came down to Corey Graves and Biggie Langston, and Graves walked away with that championship.
Yeah, and that was just another national down, and everybody was still saying, "Oh, he's a flash in the pan, blah 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 blah. He's not gonna make it." And you know, you would think if it was a fairy tale, you got Kevin Nash standing as tall as he is, big bad. You got little Corey Graves, and even with it being a no disqualification match, big and bad as tough as Kevin Nash is, you know, he failed. He tapped out. He got him with that lucky 13, which is pretty much pretty much lucky for Graves and lucky for anybody that comes against him.
I
So
mean,
that was like a big, huge upset. You know, as much as I'm been for Graves, but you know, all the good things come to an end. Once again, he pulls the rabbit out the hat.
I mean, the fact that Corey Graves, he was smarter, quicker. I mean, he used his speed to his advantage to keep Nash down and lock in that lucky 13. And
do you think that he's lucky and that luck is going to eventually run out, or is Graves the real deal?
I honestly think Graves is the real deal. I mean, every single pay-per-view since his debut, he's walked out with championships left and right. I mean, back at, I think, the December pay-per-view, he walked away with the X Factor championship. Then fast forward to Battle Bowl, he walked away with the X Factor and the United States championship. Then you fast forward to King of Hell, IC, US. I mean, this guy is definitely the real deal. And the fact that he not only walked away Intercontinental Champion, but he walked away with the tag team titles too. I mean, could Graves possibly be a future world champion here in XGW? I mean, this guy is the real deal. Definitely.
That's a good question. And you look at the final four of Battle Bowl, all four exceptional vendors. Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Triple H. And not many remember that Corey Graves was supposed to be in Battle Bowl, but due to contract negotiations conflict, he was not completely signed in XGW and able to compete. So given what Corey Graves has done thus far, can you actually say the outcome of Battle Bowl, which affected the outcome of Price of Glory, which would affect the outcome of Center Stage 7, would that be dramatically changed on a whole nother level if Graves had made it to the Final Four of Battle Bowl?
I mean, hypothetically, that definitely could have changed the game if Graves was in the Battle Bowl series. I mean, it would have been the start of a real test. We could have found out if Graves would have been in the main event of Center Stage. Would that domino effect somehow involve Dean Ambrose? Would Dean Ambrose have still won Prize for Glory? Was Dean Ambrose would have still been in Prize for Glory? A lot has happened. It all adds up because of that domino effect of the Battle Bowl series. I mean, if Graves was in the Battle Bowl series, I think he could have won. I think he could have been fighting John Cena in the main event.
And speaking of that, for the closer, the whole Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston type of bout. We've got John Cena, world champion, who surprised the hell out of everybody at Price for Glory in the chamber, walked out champion. Seeing John Cena get that belt is thing has been coming a long time. We've never seen John Cena as world heavyweight champion at XGW. We've seen him as tag champ. We've seen him as IC champ. It was only a matter of time before he won the big one. And with all those great people in that chamber, it was definitely a wow factor. Chris Jericho walked in, champ, got eliminated. CM Punk Who else was in that chamber?
It was CM Punk. I believe it was Triple H, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Who else was in that chamber? Let me think. You got Cena. You got Cena. You got Austin. You got Jericho. You got Punk. Who else was in that match? I think that was everybody.
And all of them gave it their all, and out of nowhere came Cena. Finally, his time to shine. And for years, we've waited to see Cena actually make it and get the big one. And then you have Dean Ambrose, who wins Price for Glory and wins Battle Bowl. It's like, wow, that is the first thing. That is the first time ever in history to have someone to win both big matches like that ever. Will it ever happen again? I sincerely doubt it. If it does, it does. But at this particular moment right now, we're taking that road and we're wondering what's going to happen with Ambrose and Cena. And we basically slowly saw a descend between the men of God. Seth Rollins, with Tyler the Anointed, he was doing his thing. He was doing great. Ambrose was doing his thing, was doing great. Roman was struggling. And I get that struggle. He's at that point in his career where he questions, do I still have it? And then you look and you have your match and you lose to Bray. And then at the end of the night, here you see your brother in a match with the XUW champion. How did you feel watching Ambrose versus Cena on TV?
I mean, Ambrose versus Cena, it was interesting because Ambrose had just won Prize of Glory and had just won Battle Bowl. The fact that he won the Prize for Glory briefcase caught me off guard, and I didn't see that coming. There was a lot of great talent. You had 2 syndicate members, you had 2 A-listers, and the fact that Ambrose managed to survive those odds and walk away with the Prize for Glory was quite interesting. But when I seen these two going at it, it was like magic. It was like magic. And the fact that Ambrose managed to walk away with that XGW championship secured himself. The real deal. But the question is Ambrose lucky? How long will Ambrose keep that XGW championship? Will he be classified as a paper champion? I mean, even if he loses the XGW champion, he has the Prize for Glory briefcase. So it's only a matter of time before he gets it back.
Right. And I'm glad you said about the whole paper champion thing. You have a few guys in the locker room who are going to call him a paper champion who feel like, oh, I deserve to be better. But if you give me a list of all those guys who saying, oh, Ambrose doesn't deserve it, Ambrose this, Ambrose that, you show me their stats and you see if they can actually do what he's done. There's rumors that Seth Rollins is saying, you know, oh, I put Dean over. But if you go back and you look at that match, how do you put someone over who reversed your curve stomp?
I mean,
and out of nowhere takes you out?
I mean, just when Ambrose had finished pinning CM Punk out of the Dirty Deeds, out of nowhere, Seth Rollins tries his hardest to curve stomp his own brother, stab him in the back to try to win the Battle Bowl series. But the fact that Ambrose seen it coming, and the fact that he turned that curve stomp into a Dirty Deeds to secure himself the main event of Center Stage is quite impressive. Quite impressive.
Yeah, you really have to understand the list that some people will go as far as getting championship opportunities. You know, everybody wants to come in and oh, you know, we're as a whole going to take over and blah, 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 blah. You've seen it happen in faction after faction. When the title's on the line or title opportunities on the line, things change. All that friendly banter and brotherhood, all that goes out the damn door. And it's sad because you watch some people throw away whole factions over opportunity to actually be XW champion, or actually to make it to a contenders match. Not even to say for you to get the damn belt, but to actually be in a contenders match. And there's no guarantee that you're going to win and you burnt that bridge? What do you do after you do it and you don't succeed? How do you walk back to that locker room and look them in the eye?
I mean, I don't know. I would be able to look my brother in the eye after I just tried to stab him so hard in the back. I mean, I would probably have mixed feelings. I mean, would it have been bittersweet? Would it have been long overdue? Or would it have been the ultimate betrayal? The ultimate regret?
Sure. Now, over the last couple months before Center Stage, there were leaks and rumors of XGW upper heads and higher-ups bringing back a second show due to a number of reasons. And this particular time, they brought back the second show, Adrenaline. And they had an actual old-school XGW roster draft.
Roster draft. That was quite interesting. Where some of these superstars actually ended up. I mean, some of these draft picks were quite shocking, caught me off guard, and very surprising. Let's start with Warzone, obviously. Some of the superstars that ended up on Warzone.
The Warzone roster. Let's talk about a little bit each person one by one. Brock Lesnar.
I mean, the Beast.
What do you think you can look into that roster?
I mean, the Beast incarnate, Lesnar. He's a multiple-time world champion, a Grand Slammer. Lesnar has quite honestly done it all. I mean, the fact that Lesnar returned to Warzone is quite interesting. I mean, what Lesnar will do in the near future is beyond me, but that man is a beast. He's a conqueror. And he could possibly have the potential to once again become XGW champion.
What about Chris Jericho? He didn't show up. He lost the belt in the chamber at Percy Roy. He left, not Percy Roy, I'm sorry, King of Hell. He left, came back maybe a month or 2 weeks later to help Natalya out in that Divas representation match. Didn't do too well in that and then left. And now he's back again.
I mean, Jericho, as you said, was the former world champion. The fact that he had to compete inside the King of Hell structure, some may have felt was unfair of Jericho. If Jericho would have been able to just have a one-on-one matchup, Jericho could have possibly fought Dean Ambrose at center stage. Could have possibly fought him at the main event, but the fact that he had to go through 5 other men to try to defend that championship, it's quite the challenge. But Jericho's back, and he's hoping to reclaim what is rightfully his, which is the XGW World Championship.
Moving on into a wild card, Christian. We hadn't seen Christian in at least 2 years. And we had to do something was up when we saw him show up one night on Warzone and go into the match in the office of Randy Orton. What do you think? Is Christian finally going to take that road and reclaim glory and finally?
I mean, Christian has done just about everything except win that world title. He's a former Intercontinental Champion, former Hardcore Champion, Television Champion, Tag Team Champion. But as far as I am concerned about Christian becoming XGW Champion, if he has the heart, he has the desire, I feel that Christian could be the world champion. But as of right now, I don't see Christian walking away with that XGW Championship gold. As of right now.
Now, he's in the IC division.
Yes.
Given how quick and fast Christian is, depending on how hungry he is, do you think there's any people who have failed to take that IC strap off Brady? Do you think Christian could be one of those guys that takes it off and does the impossible?
I mean, I feel that if Christian can get through a guy like Corey Graves, who's done quite impressive over the past few months of XGW, I think then Christian might become XGW champion in the near future, but he has to go through Graves. That's the only way he's going to ever get close to championship gold in XGW, is if he goes through Corey Graves. He has to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Christian has to go through Corey Graves, and not only go through him, but take away that Intercontinental Championship from Corey Graves.
That's what's all over, because we've seen that, Brian. We've seen many people try to take the title off of Corey Graves. And I'm saying these people, man, he's lost to a few people. He's lost to Nick Sandow. He's lost to Bray Wyatt. Maybe one other person, but he's pretty much been on fire since he's got here in XGW.
I mean, there's only been one other person that has beaten him. Let me see, and it was Rob Van Dam. I mean, it was RVD. He beat him to win the United States Championship. But the problem is, RVD is not exactly on the Warzone roster.
So. No, RVD isn't on here right now. He had to leave XGW. So we've only got two guys left who have beat Graves and are still active in the company. And speaking of being active in the company, brings us to CM Punk. The clock's ticking on him. Do you think, in your estimation, he's got until October? Now, hey.
Maybe.
Can you see Punk doing the Cinderella story and walking away with the XGW Championship one last time?
Possibly. I mean, if Punk's in the right place, in the right state of mind, I believe he could walk away with that championship, but he has to be in the right state of mind.
And speaking of right state of mind, you got Corey Graves. No one knows what state of mind the savior of misbehavior has been in, but whatever he's at, it's been hella good for him. It's made it remarkable. You don't want to say he's untouchable, but he's pretty much left his mark in his first year. Nothing has been really this impressive since last year with Razor Ramon.
I mean, with Razor, he won the Intercontinental Championship, his first opportunity, won the tag team titles with Cody Rhodes, won Prize for Glory, his first Prize for Glory match. I mean, this man, Razor Ramon, was quite impressive, but the fact that Corey Graves is kind of mirroring Razor in that sense of impressiveness is amazing.
Yeah, but the only question of it is, they both have an impressive track record. Starting out, who they align themselves with is a big difference. Razor aligned himself with Cody Rhodes, which increased his chances and actually helped him as far as being great. Corey Graves came in with Mark Henry and his former world champion, and he came in with Big E, he came in with Tyson Kidd, and it kind of from the ground up started what they started and ran until he, kind of shed his skin of them. Now, the question is, he's been on a skyrocket run just like Razor Ramon was. Will he meet the same fate as Razor as far as going for the big one and not getting the job done? Because Razor and him went a few different paths. They kind of on the same road, but they kind of hit that fork in the road where Graves necessarily didn't get in TFC because he didn't need it. Razor Ramon had the briefcase, had everything behind him, tried to cash in on Angle, and couldn't get the job done. Now here we have Graves living that same fairy tale type career. When it gets to when the lights are bright and on and hot, and you need to get that 1, 2, 3, you need to get it done. Your estimation about Graves has to get me there.
I mean, Graves, he's a smart competitor. He knows how to work those legs, and if he can just work those legs against his opponent, keep him down, play the ground game to the best of his ability, I believe he can secure that XGW Championship and add it to his title collection.
Now, speaking of that, Dean Ambrose.
XGW Champion.
He's won Price for Glory. Everything that Ambrose said he was going to do. People have been naysayers and said, no, he can't do it, and he's done it. One Battle Bowl, one Price for Glory. That is the first time ever in history where you've had one person win those two big matches and then go on to center stage and actually win the title. To dominate all three of the biggest months in an XGW year. Battle Bowl, Price for Glory, which was a new pay-per-view in March that we came up with. Elevation, Price for Glory, whatever you want to call it. And then to secure that briefcase, which is basically like a free title shot, and then in Battle Bowl in January to win that, which is like a 2-3 title shot. So basically you have two lottery tickets in your back pocket. And then you really don't have to use one because you go on to center stage and you beat the third champion. Do you think he's gonna last long?
I mean, everything Ambrose has said up until this point to the center stage, he has done. So I believe that Ambrose could possibly continue to back up his word, and even if Ambrose does lose that world championship, you have to remember he has that Price for Glory briefcase. He has that lottery ticket. He has that golden ticket. He has an opportunity, a guaranteed shot at the XGW championship whenever he wants. So I definitely.
So that's a fact here. That's a what we want. With the golden ticket.
Yep, I'm saying anytime, anywhere. Ambrose has said he was going to win the Prize for Glory briefcase. He's done it. He said he was going to win Battle Bowl. He's done it. He said he was going to win the XGW Championship. He's done it. So I believe that without a shadow of a doubt, that Ambrose will still remain XGW champion for quite some time.
Now, his next individual, he's definitely a potential danger to Ambrose's reign. Edge. Qualified XGW Hall of Famer when he permanently retires, without a shadow of a doubt, goes in the Hall of Fame. And once again, I'm retired. I'm out. I'm out. I'm retired. That's been his whole career. He hasn't really been the same since he faced The Undertaker at one of the center stages. Do you really think, since he's come back, he feuded with one of the younger, brighter stars in XGW, Seth Rollins? In a match like that for Edge, you really think he needs to face someone like Seth Rollins, or is he established enough, or does he have to once again prove himself? Or you think he's gotten over with the fans, or are they kind of like, oh, I'm sick of seeing Edge retired, he's back again, he's out again, he's back again?
I mean,
do you think he's really gonna make a huge impact?
I mean, as you said, he's an established superstar, bona fide future Hall of Famer, definitely. I mean, Edge, he's an opportunist, and he'll do whatever it takes, whatever he needs to do to become XGW champion. So, if Edge is in the right place at the right time, I believe that maybe, and just maybe, Edge might walk away with that world championship before Dean Ambrose realizes what goes on in the snap of a finger, just like that.
Well, another guy in the XGW roster, Golden. He looked promising in the beginning. So he ran into the roadblock and kept Rollins for the US today, and we really haven't seen anything from Goldust, unless it's on Brian Saxton's couch. You see him as being someone that could be a force to be reckoned with.
I mean, honestly, I see potential in Goldust. I see a lot of potential in Goldust. I mean, I don't necessarily see him as a threat yet, but maybe one day, with enough time, with a little bit more training, maybe. But he has to just get over his own roadblocks, his own struggles, and maybe he'll walk away with the championship in XGW. But I don't see him anywhere near XGW World Championship yet.
Yeah, I think Goldust is one of those guys, kind of swimming in the X Factor, swimming in the U.S. division, or IC.
I see.
Yeah, IC. John Cena. Just got the bait up for this long, long, treacherous journey of getting going to lose it to Ambrose. Do you think he's gonna run back for it?
I mean, definitely. I mean, as you said, Cena's been on a long journey and finally won the XGW Championship at King of Hell, one of the biggest pay-per-views of the entire year. I would definitely see Cena once again pulling that fairy tale story, that Cinderella story, one day walking away with the championship, maybe possibly getting redemption against Dean Ambrose and getting his revenge. I definitely see it.
Yeah, anything is possible. And speaking of which, anything is possible. Find once again Kane.
The Big Red Monster. We haven't seen that man for quite some time. The last time we seen Kane, he actually defeated Batista to become the number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship.
Right. Do you see Kane digging deep down for that evil streak to actually put everybody on notice and bust heads and actually get gold around that waist?
I mean, Kane, he's done just about everything. So, and it was last year he actually ended Dolph Ziggler's XGW title reign. And it was a long title reign. 7 months.
Right.
So I definitely see Kane entering his inner darkness and once again recapturing championship gold.
Well, and that brings us to our, I guess, part-time COO, former XGW champion. What really, I don't really see Orton that much in the ring. I see more about his antics backstage with baby mamas and like that. A lot of people doesn't think he has it anymore. I'm not convinced that Orton has it anymore, and I see him more pushing papers, but at the same time, every time someone says that, he laces the boots up, comes out and proves otherwise, and then goes back to what he's doing. Do you see a 8th title reign in Orton's future?
If he is pushed, I see an 8th title reign. If he is pushed, and only if he is pushed. And I feel that Dean Ambrose just might be that person to push Randy Orton's buttons a little bit too much. And then out of nowhere, RKO. And we have another 8th title reign for Randy Orton. But it's only if he's pushed.
Now, someone that's on my list, weird guys, Rusev. We saw Rusev, a.k.a. Skittles. Every week he came out on rollerblades and face rainbow. So he's on the Warzone roster, and guys like him. Thus far, everyone that we've named has been on the Warzone roster. Guys like him, Goldust, they kind of worry me because thus far this has been kind of like an all-star roster. You've got Edge, Ambrose, Cena, Orton, the whole nine. Guys like Rusev, he's a powerhouse. And you think he could really make a big difference?
I
he
mean,
can really sneak up on one of these guys?
Maybe, and with X Factor champion Kofi Kingston right around the corner. I mean, Kofi's got to defend on both Warzone and Adrenaline. I mean, with a powerhouse like Rusev, if he cuts the Skittle antics, I think he might be that guy to take that X Factor championship away from Kofi Kingston. But he must cut the Skittle antics and get serious.
Sure. And speaking of serious, as well as controversy, here's the guy that's full of it. Seth Rollins. Controversial superstar. Damn near the fucking total package.
Definitely.
He was in the World Division, and honestly, taking notes, I don't know what the fuck happened to him. He made it. He was the U.S. champion. He beat Zack Ryder. I think was it Extreme Rules?
It was
2014.
it was Brodus Clay,
Okay, yeah, Brodus Clay.
and it was Extreme Showdown. Yes, it was Extreme Showdown. He beat Brodus Clay for the U.S. Championship, and during XGW's off season, we really haven't seen much of Rollins. And as soon as we return from the off season, Rollins qualifies for Battle Bowl, and we've seen Rollins in Battle Bowl, not really defending the U.S. title as he normally would.
Well, he got 2 defenses in. He beat Adrian Neville, which I do believe that was like the fall of Neville.
Definitely.
Neville disappeared.
Definitely the fall of Neville.
He beat him in Battle Bowl, and then he beat him to defend his U.S. title, which was kind of like a dampen in Neville's ego that sent him back to the drawing board.
I mean, Neville.
He beat Goldust.
I mean, Neville had potential, but he was on his way to the finals of Battle Bowl. But after he lost to Seth Rollins, that kind of derailed his confidence a bit.
Right, and see with Seth, he had the tag team belts already with Roman Reigns, Joseph, Son of Man. He defeated Neville in his first U.S. defense. He defeated Goldust in his first U.S. defense. And he ran head in the head, I guess you can call Superman Corey Graves, and it wasn't even enough to curb stomp his head into the ladder. Graves made him tap out and lose, and it was like, okay, well, Seth is still in Battle Bowl. Make it to the Final Four. Like I said, you get opportunity to get that belt, you kind of get hungry and want to turn on your brother. It backfired in his face. And he got in the, matter of fact, Seth Rollins was in the King of Hell chamber for the world title.
He was.
You lose 2 big back-to-back matches like that. And somewhere in the course of it, he lost tag team titles to the Syndicate. So it's like, wow. Seth Rollins had such promise to be in the world division. And now, after all these L's, he's got more L's than the word balloon. It kind of dropped him. But not to say that Seth Rollins can't come back. He's one of those guys that you have to keep an eye on. And I think he is maybe one of the top 3 threats on this Warzone roster.
Definitely a top threat on this Warzone roster, definitely. I agree 150%.
So that moves us on to Sheamus, which I did not know he even still had an HCW contract. I thought he got released.
I mean, it was last year where Sheamus actually became XGW World Champion on Assault. He was the first ever XGW champion over there. I mean, caught us all guard after an impressive match against Jack Swagger. After he lost the world title, we haven't seen Sheamus for quite some time, but the fact that he's back is quite interesting.
Yeah. Let's talk about the icon, Sting. I think this is a great addition to the Warzone roster. I think Sting has a lot to bring.
Definitely.
He's out to do this mission in XGW about righting the wrongs, but now you have to wonder after Center Stage is the dead man, how will he adjust as far as adapting to the dead man's creed or motto?
I mean,
do you actually see him grabbing a belt?
I definitely see Sting grabbing a belt. Sting has potential. Put on a damn near impressive, breathtaking match against The Undertaker at Center Stage, so I definitely see Sting possibly being one of those guys that just catches Corey Graves off guard and possibly takes away that Intercontinental Championship that he holds so dearly.
And speaking of which, one of the greatest XGW Intercontinental Champions, The Rock, when he shows up, if he's not in Hollywood doing a movie, I don't know, his time to be great is probably over because you actually have to show up in the ring to be a threat. But do you think The Rock can still break?
Um, I mean, he has to honestly shake off that ring rust. He has been away for quite some time. If he can just shake off the ring rust, maybe. But as of right now, I don't see The Rock walking away with a championship anytime soon in XGW.
Now, and speaking of which, the yard keeper, the yard owner, the legendary Undertaker is back. For the last couple of years, he's only done one match a month or one match a year, depending on how you look at it. The center stage. Now, no matter if he doesn't do anything, he's going to come back to center stage. Some might call him the locker room general for Raw. Do you see another title reign in his grasp? Do you see him actually? We've seen him do the order. We've seen him call out the injustices, making threats to say, "Hey, get right. Judgment Day is coming. I'll judge you all." See what he did to Mr. McMahon.
Same.
What do you see in the Undertaker's future as far as being a part of this roster on Warzone? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
I mean,
Can he actually bring his plan to fruition?
Undertaker, as you said, he's one of the greatest of all time. So there's no doubt that I definitely see a title reign is in his near future. But that just depends if he's around. I mean, as you said, he wrestled like what, one match a month, one match a year. I mean, it just depends. I mean, the sands of time are running. We only get Undertaker for Lord knows how long. So.
Right, because supposedly he renegotiated another contract, so maybe we'll see him more than just once a year or once, at the pay-per-view or something like that.
I mean, maybe that'd be nice, definitely. I mean, I would love to see the Undertaker.
Be prepared for that eventuality.
I mean, yeah.
To be at a Monday Night War Zone, to hear that gong and see the dead man come to the ring.
I mean, I'd be thrilled. I'd be thrilled to see the Undertaker compete. I'm a fan of the Undertaker's work. So yeah.
And lastly, to bring up this HCW Warzone roster, the game, Triple H.
I mean, Triple H. Last year, he finally won the big one. He finally won the XGW World Championship when he won the King of Hell match, similar to Cena. But ultimately suffered a similar fate, losing the XGW Championship to Cena. Hasn't exactly been the same. Some go around saying that Triple H might not ever hold the title again. Who knows? But
you said the machine's holding him down?
The machine is definitely holding that man down. But
are you gonna hold your breath, possibly risking death, waiting for another Triple H reign?
I mean, maybe. I would love to see another Triple H reign. I mean, but it all just depends. It all depends on him. It all depends on his mental state, his state of mind. I mean, I personally would love to see it, but as of right now, I don't believe that Triple H could walk away with the XGW Championship against a guy like Dean Ambrose. Guys like Corey Graves. I don't see it.
Well, that bottoms out the Warzone roster. Let's take a look at the Adrenaline roster.
Adrenaline.
First up,
the new show. Let's do this.
Yeah. First up, we have Andre the Giant, who's aligned himself with the Macho King and Vision.
I mean, Andre the Giant. I mean, he's the largest individual I've ever seen in my life. This man is huge. I mean, he also competed in that Ton Memorial Battle Royal. Was ultimately eliminated by Bad News Barrett, but just how tall this man is, how strong this man is, to line himself up with the Big Show and Macho King. It's going to be interesting to see what Andre does over these next few weeks in XGW.
And speaking of which, you have Bad News Bear, when you say eliminated Andre the Giant. So now you've got one half of the BBC Beatdown Clan, one on Warzone with Corey Gray, the other half over here with Wade Bear. So the question of the matter is it a good thing that, or a fortunate thing that they got split up? Because now you have Bad News Bear over here. He's had an exceptional center stage 7. Do you think he's going to sink or swim, or is he all hype?
I mean, Bad News Barrett, he has the potential to possibly be a world champion on Assault. I mean, I could see the Beatdown Clan, Corey Graves, Intercontinental Champion, Tag Team Champion, World Champion, and then you have Bad News Barrett, Tag Team Champion. I see the potential of him becoming XGW Champion, but as of right now, I honestly think, in my opinion, he's all hype. I don't see him anywhere near the championship goal right now. Maybe US, but not world.
Well, they're going to have an adrenaline at the start of this show. They're going to have a Gold Rush tournament, which will basically take the whole entire roster. We're going to continue to cover in a few minutes. Do you think he'll probably be dangerous in that? Because that right there is like another golden ticket.
I mean,
Price Reward or Battle Ball.
Honestly, I see Barrett advancing 1 or 2 rounds definitely, but I don't see him getting exactly that golden ticket, that opportunity. I don't see it, in all honest opinion.
What about Big Show, who just recently retired?
I mean, the Big Show, he's a powerhouse. He's done it all in XGW. First X Factor champion, longest reigning tag team champion, first and only man to retain the XGW World Championship in a King of Hell match. I mean, this man is the complete package. The fact that Macho Man has that golden ticket, I mean, we could see the potential of a Macho Man versus Big Show match. Who knows? Anything's possible. But the fact that they're aligned together, I don't see a betrayal. I see straight up loyalty between these two. But Big Show is a threat definitely to that championship.
Speaking of threats to championships, you've got the world now, I guess, the spirit man of mystery, Bray Wyatt, recently signed with SGW. He really hasn't had that great of an impact behind the hype that a lot of people thought he would have. Kind of a sleeper guy. But recently, as pretty much people are watching him now, as he's feuding with Roman Reigns. So, Bray, can you see him as being a big key component in this World Heavyweight Gold match?
Definitely. I definitely see Wyatt being a potential threat to that World Championship. I mean, Wyatt could be that dark horse, that wild card that you just don't want to play. But once he's played, he's dangerous, deadly.
I'll possibly agree with that. Given the right momentum, given the right opportunity, guys like Wyatt can actually excel. Recently, we quiet and saw the resigning of Cesaro. You think he's going to be another heavy hit on his team?
Possibly. I mean, last year it was Cesaro who won the Ton Memorial Battle Royal. He was the guy that had that opportunity to fight Cody Rhodes for the XGW World Championship. I mean, it was it was quite a match last year on Warzone. I mean, ultimately Cody Rhodes still walking away with the world championship, but Cesaro did have that opportunity. He did win that Time Memorial Battle Royal last year, so I definitely see Cesaro as yet another dark horse, surprising everybody in the near future.
Now let's take into consideration the next individual, which is quite surprising, and what should this do to the hype of the roster? But Cody Rhodes.
Oh my goodness, Cody Rhodes.
Former multiple-time world champion. So, thus far, it's like, well, we expect to see him in Warzone, but the look of the draw, he's over here in Dream. Do you think that's going to be a game changer for the roster?
That is definitely going to be a game changer. Cody Rhodes is that game changer. It was last year was the year of Rhodes. He won Battle Bowl. He won the main event at Center Stage. He led Misery Loves Company. Last year was definitely the year of Rhodes, and the fact that he's now drafted on Adrenaline maybe shook things up quite a bit on Adrenaline.
True. And speaking of shaking things up, the newly re-signed Daniel Bryan is over here on Adrenaline as the United States champion.
I mean, Daniel Bryan adding another championship to his stats is the first time Daniel Bryan has ever won the United States Championship, and the fact that he's did it on the grandest stage of them all was quite impressive. His first night back winning the U.S. Championship against Rob Van Dam. It was shocking.
And it seems like this seems to be the year of comebacks. We witnessed Daniel Bryan come back. We witnessed Rob Van Dam come back for a limited time. So I guess why not? Wouldn't you have somebody like Fandango return?
Fandango. I know quite a bit about Fandango. It was last year. He won the X Factor Championship not once, but twice actually. I mean, this man main evented Warzone 8 weeks in a row. Fandango had a lot of potential, but didn't deliver. I mean, the fact that he's on Adrenaline now could be quite a game changer. Could we see that same potential
yet?
yet?
Someone like Fandango actually walking away winning the title.
I mean, it would be shocking. It'd be quite interesting if Fandango walks away with the world championship. But as of right now, I honestly don't see Fandango walking away with that world championship. He's had opportunities last year, and his record wasn't necessarily the best. But if Fandango could pull the upset of a lifetime and win that world championship, it will open a lot of eyes.
True. And for you, what you just said about Fandango, it's kind of what I would say about this next guy on the Warzone, the Adrenaline roster, Jack Swagger. Jack pops up every now and again. His biggest match to date might have been the first card after Center Stage 6, where he fought Sheamus for the World Heavyweight title and couldn't get the job done. So I'm kind of wondering when Jack's going to find his footing in XGW.
Swagger has potential to become a world champion, but the only thing that's holding Swagger back is Swagger. That's the only thing, in my opinion, that's honestly holding him back from becoming that XGW World Champion. But I definitely see Swagger, maybe one day, winning the XGW World Championship.
Now, we've got another new signee in the name of Jey Uso. Nothing's really known about this guy. Do you tend to want to bet on guys like this if you don't know that much about it?
I mean, Jey Uso is don't really know much about Jey Uso. You know a little bit about his brother Jimmy, but not much is known about Jey. I mean, shit. Shit. If anything, Kevin Nash. Big Sexy. He's quite the competitor. He's that guy that just wants that fair one-on-one match. And Big Sexy, 7 feet tall. I definitely see Nash in the runnings, possibly the finals, I'm not sure, of that XGW World Championship. I mean, if he could somehow advance to the tournament and get to the finals, maybe he'll be the one to fight Macho King for the XGW Championship. And those two men do have a lot of history. It was actually last year where Macho King took out Kevin Nash at Center Stage 6. So, if these two were to ever square off, it'd be quite the match.
Yeah. Well, speaking of quite the match, we've seen quite a few of the matches across the Kingston since he's re-signing and coming back in HEW, especially with the X Factor with the Mike Tyson. Also, him versus Neville in 7. With a wild card like that, his quickness, his speed, do you see him actually being a big, huge ace in the deck of the
I mean, Kofi's a wild card. But you have to remember, it took Kofi multiple opportunities to become X Factor champion against Tyson Kidd. He couldn't exactly figure out Kidd's coding, but when he finally figured out the code, he put the pieces to the puzzle together and walked away with the X Factor championship. But I kind of have mixed feelings on whether I see Kofi as a possible world champion or not. I would love to see it, but the question is, will he get that? Will he get it on his first opportunity? And I don't see him doing it his first opportunity. Maybe his second or third, but I don't see it on the first.
No, Kofi is pretty dangerous. I mean, he's talked a good game. He's gotten ahead of his opponents, and like you said, he puts together the pieces of the puzzle. I believe if he actually does that in his Gold Rush tournament, then, it's game over. And it's not as stacked as Warzone, but it's stacked in a different way, which is actually kind of funny and peculiar. And speaking of which, you got the next guy, Macho King, former Intercontinental Champion, former member of Misery Loves Company. So on his big return, Center Stage 7, Ton Second Battle Royal, he walks out, he wins it. He's already set. He's waiting at the end of the finish line of the runners of this Gold Rush tournament. Macho Man sitting on his throne. What do you see for him?
I definitely see the way he returned at Center Stage 7 was quite impressive. So I could see Macho King, walking away with that XGW World Championship, his first try. He did it with the Intercontinental Championship, so why not the World Championship? But you have to remember, the winner of that Gold Rush tournament, we won't know until that last week before Mayhem. We won't know that, who Macho King is going to face. So Macho King will really have to prepare himself to whoever wins that Gold Rush tournament. He would have to prepare himself for anybody.
Yeah, and speaking of anybody's, Roman Reigns, Son of Man. I have not made it a secret that he's one of my favorite guys. He's one of the ones I love to see come out and perform. He's one of the ones I love to step out and see exactly what he's going to bring this week. I can almost guarantee you he'll make it to the final. He'll be within the finals.
Definitely. Definitely.
He's hungry for it. He's been a former world champion. he looks to be one of those guys. Once you get a taste of it, you kind of hate to lose it, so you kind of want to get it back. He's been struggling with himself, finding himself. The dissension between the men of God. You watch Seth Rollins have this success. You watch Dean Ambrose have this success, and you're being kicked where you're down. And you got Bray Wyatt on the side, like the serpent that he is, saying, "Hey, denounce everything you have, blah 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 blah. Why are you fighting? Why are you doing this?" And I think Roman will use that to say, "Hey, I'm just as good as Dean, just as good as Seth, if not better." So, do you see him making a huge impact?
Definitely.
I kind of see that as possibly even being a locker room general in Adrenaline.
Definitely. I definitely see a lot of potential in Joseph. As you said, he's a former world champion. I mean, I definitely see Joseph. I picture it. I could see Joseph in the finals. Definitely. But who he faces will be the question. But I would love to see it. Definitely. I mean, a Joseph versus Macho King match. Oh my goodness. That would be awesome. So, yes, I definitely see Joseph as a locker room general on Adrenaline. I definitely see Joseph possibly a world champion on Adrenaline. Definitely. Definitely. No doubt.
Now that brings us to the next entrant, Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's been struggling. He was in the King of Hell match, couldn't get the job done along with Seth Rollins and the other four gentlemen. Austin's been struggling. I think if he actually made it to the finals of the World Gold Rush, that would be quite a big match to see him versus Macho Man, because they have history.
I do have history. Yes, I do. It was last year where Macho King had actually beat Austin for the Intercontinental Championship. So, I think Austin would love to get some revenge on Macho King for that, definitely.
Yeah, and then to take the belt from him, of all belts, it will be a culmination for Austin, because he's been chasing the world title for the second time. He's been chasing, been dropping the ball, and to get a certain amount of revenge back on Macho Man, I think that'll do Austin just good. You're killing two birds with one stone. You're still proving you're relevant. You're also getting revenge on a man who played a big pivotal point in your career, as far as you losing or not getting the IC belt, and you finally proved yourself. Hey man, I can be champion.
I mean, I definitely could see it. I could definitely see a Macho King versus Austin match. These two have so much history between each other. It's ridiculous. So, as far as I'm concerned, I could see it.
And we're coming up on the last two people on the Adrenaline roster. The first one is The Miz, former tag team champion, former IC champion. He's been world champion at least once, and he's kind of fallen off, but he's making a comeback. What do you think he'll play a pivotal part?
I mean, Miz had potential, definitely. He put on quite the performance at center stage. He didn't exactly walk away with the victory, but after a performance like that at center stage, I definitely see Miz being a top player in the World Division, possibly U.S. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Miz, he has a lot of potential. Just seeing how far that can. I just want to see how far that potential could take him.
Right. And last but not least, on the general roster, former member of the Syndicate, Tyson Kidd. Not really much you can say about him, but he pretty much held on to that X Factor for Humpty Kingston came out of nowhere and gave him that Trouble with Paradise. Do you see him to be a sleeper agent or a factor on this roster?
I mean,
Everybody else does.
I mean, you have to remember, despite the fact that he didn't compete against Randy Orton at center stage, he has that entire free month of title shots. So we could possibly see Tyson walking away with the championship anytime throughout the cycle of Adrenaline with that entire month of free title shots.
So that's kind of like almost better than damn near Pressure Warrior Battle Bowl. But is that enough? Because even though it's a month of free title shots, what if he doesn't get it each time? If he tries for two in one night and want to go for the U.S., want to go for the world title too, do you think that's going to affect one's self-esteem if they try for an entire month of getting this and failing it? Do you think that's going to help it or a hindrance?
I think it would definitely hinder him. If I was Tyson, I would pick and choose my opportunities wisely. I wouldn't just gamble it all in one night. I would divide my time up, pick the spot, and then definitely secure it. But I definitely see Tyson as a potential player in Adrenaline. I can see it.
Now, before we close this out, let's take a look. If it ever got to the point, if both shows had a overall brand war, a war zone, I guess you could sum up. You've got a bunch of veterans and former world champions, potential Hall of Famers. Over on Adrenaline, you've got a few former world champions, maybe one potential Hall of Famer guy, and a bunch of new hungry guys. If you had one of those classic last man standing, brand versus brand, given what you have to work with, what roster do you think would actually come out on top? Or would it be a classic Mexican standoff?
I mean, in my opinion, Adrenaline has a lot of potential. A lot of young, hungry competitors down there. I see the potential. I see them possibly succeeding, but as of right now, they're just too new. So I would have to go a Warzone. They're more experienced. They have a bunch of veterans. I definitely see Warzone winning the brand warfare. But at some point in the near future, I would definitely go ahead. Maybe 2-3 years later, Adrenaline. But as of right now, I'd have to say Warzone.
I don't know. I'm kind of riding the fence on it because you got guys like Roman Reigns and you've got Bray Wyatt and you've got Cody over in Adrenaline, and you can almost match that with somebody like Seth Rollins and Undertaker and probably maybe Punk or Ambrose. That right there is a good matchup. You've got so many stalemates with the Undertaker. You've got experience, years and years of unchartable experience. With Seth Rollins, you've got his mindset of being an architect and putting things together. You throw in Punker and Ambrose as support or a way to jail both of them to exceed. And while over here on Adrenaline, you've got Roman Reigns, you've got the powerhouse, you've got the mysterious creepiness of Bray Wyatt, and you've got the leader skills of Cody Rhodes. So it's kind of hard to say. Like, I wouldn't say 2 years from now. I would say maybe some of them are ready head-to-head to go against what you've got over in Warzone and can possibly be one of those roof-shaking, mind-blowing experiences that you probably want to see for a pay-per-view.
Maybe. Definitely.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to end of the first episode of X Marks the Spot, Season 2, Episode 1. We're going to try and get a few XGW Universe members on here on the show with us over time. We're also going to try to attempt to do these podcasts for weekly shows in case you missed it.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're gonna try to do this the best we possibly can. So we're asking you all to stay tuned, and you can leave comments or questions or whatever. If there's a particular show that you want to see, we may even do a superstar spotlight on one of these podcasts. So on the feedback section of this post, leave feedback. We want to improve as much as we can on possible on a lot of things. Or if you want to be a host or whatever, a guest on the show, whatnot. So, message, leave it there or whatever, what you enjoyed about the show, what you didn't like about the show. So, until next time, this is Cactus.
And this is Y2K2400. Signing out. Peace and have a nice day. Thank you guys for listening.